Hey guys, okay. So this one is from my homes. I told you I was gonna start skipping around. Okay. So this one is from my homestead candle making section. I know, brand new, right? And this is what it is, candle making for beginners. Excuse me. I have never made candles. Well, not like this. I can't wait to be able to use beeswax from our beehives to make candles. I'm probably just going to stock up on like beeswax from Amazon for a while. Because it's going to take a while for us to be able to use it from our own.
We'll start by scanning your abdomen.
Alright.
I'll help you from the back.
Beginner's Guide to Candle Making.
You were right.
Some of my fondest memories with my family involve sitting around the table at night with nothing but candlelight to illuminate the room. The sweet smell of beeswax is one of my favorite scents. The faint hint of honey hanging in the air makes any space feel instantly cozy and warm. Is it any wonder I love the idea of making candles, beeswax or otherwise, at home? And you can make your own homemade scented candles as well. You can add just a few drops of like an essential oil to it too, so. Candles have always played an important part throughout history, both in terms of practical usage and religious ritual. In many cases, the two uses would intersect. The Catholic Church, which still uses beeswax devotional candles to this day, used to accept beeswax as a tithe.
Who says rising costs means lowering of us? Settling? No need. Get the brands you want, the prices you want, whenever you want.
Up until fairly recently, the skills involved with candle making were an important trade. There were less of a demand for candles. There was less of a with the invention of electricity, I'm so sorry. There was less of a demand for candles. At least in North America, making candles by hand out of necessity is largely a forgotten skill. And I can't wait to actually learn it. However, over the past couple of decades, there's been a surge of newly interested candle makers and easy-to-use supplies who have turned the process into an art form. Unlike the candles of yesteryear, and thanks to improvements in wax and wick quality, modern candles don't need the same attention to maintenance required by earlier prototypes.
Is it treatable? Will she be okay?
There's no cure, but it is manageable. Keep an eye out for pain or bruising.
Sorry, I was trying to get rid of notifications.
That don't go away. That can be.
I'm going to guide you through the process of creating 4 different types of candles: rolled candles, container candles, molded candles, and tapered candles. With these options, you can choose how much of an investment, time and equipment-wise, you want to make before beginning the project. I'll probably try all of them. Any one of these candles are suitable for making with children, some with more supervision than others, and they all make excellent gifts, or, of course, you can rightfully keep them for yourself. And with candles, once I get enough, like, beeswax collected up, more than likely through Amazon at first, I will go ahead and start making, like, extra ones to add to our Faith First store. And yes, it is going to come. I have not had a chance to look into it. I might do it through Etsy. I don't know. Okay? I will let you guys know on that. But in our Faith First store, you will be able to get the t-shirts, sweatshirts, possibly sweatshirt jackets with a Faith First logo either right here, like right here, or on the back. One of the two. Or maybe I'll do both. And the logo is going to be hand painted. Because I'm going to get the fabric paint marker pens, the fabric paint pens, and I'm going to meticulously paint our logo on each and every single piece of clothing. So, plus I'm willing to do paintings of our logo, and I will put those in the store. There's a good possibility there will be mugs. And
Your father refused.
I definitely want to add candles to it. Our homemade soaps. I'm going to start just buying some soap supplies.
He doesn't want to try.
I need to start getting some money to Aaron, but his first and foremost right now is getting money paid out on property taxes, and I totally get that. So I'm just going to start sending for some soap supplies so I can actually start making them.
But yours did something theirs.
There will also be crocheted goods in our store. Dish rags for sure.
That's his burden to carry.
Probably 2 for $3, like I said on the other video. The coasters, I'll have to send for the plastic canvas to use on the back for the hot glue, you know, the hot glue goes on the back. And there's the the foam sheets. Dollar General has those, and I might just use that and cut that and hot glue that on the back of the plastic canvas as well.
I wish I knew how to be like.
So it'll be like a nice thick coaster, you know.
They're not a couple.
And there'll be the plastic in between.
Liam's gay.
And you won't have felt on the bottom. So, and there'll be...
She has arthritis, but I don't know what this is.
Definitely blankets. Again, those are gonna take a long time. It'll be a while before those are in the store. I'm gonna start looking into how to do the store. And I will do a video about that and let you guys know. There'll be candles, homemade candles. There'll be homemade soaps, as I said. There will be...
Get started with up to 50 credits back if your first pick set loses. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app from the leader in fantasy.
At Christmas, there'll be the homemade gift boxes. And I will personally send those out to you guys. Because I would rather send those out individually, like to each person myself. I don't know if I will add those to the store in general. I don't know. It just depends how that one goes. I might not. Just depends. I will let you guys know on that for sure. What else? Oh, and at Christmas time, definitely homemade Christmas decorations. And there'll be...
We could recreate the shape of the bone, graft new stem cells, and allograft onto it to generate
the homemade, like the wood crafts, that kind of thing. Even like the palette projects that we do.
Both here because I have 2 questions.
And anything that Chloe makes and does for
if I can save her leg, and I don't have an answer to that.
the homestead,
We're going to have a baby.
For, you know, that she
very happy right
does
now,
to sell,
this
she will get the money from that.
Want me to breathe on them?
Oh, in the spring, there will also be, you will also be able to get seedlings, plant seedlings. I'm going to get a table and put it in our kitchen. And there's going to be tomato seedlings, and I'm going to try my hand at making sure I have a certain amount of quite a few different ones to sell. And those are going to be like probably just maybe $3 a piece. Now, the tree seedlings, I will let you guys know how that goes. The seeds are still in the refrigerator where they're supposed to be. And here within like a couple of weeks, I'm going to have to get some pots to plant them in. I'm going to have to get a bag of potting soil specifically for those. And I'm going to plant those germinated seeds. So we'll see how it goes. And the tree seedlings are going to be $5 a piece. So Anyway, there's going to be a lot of different things in our store. Some things are going to be seasonal.
And then one day
I will be selling blackberry canes off from our property.
for years after I would come
Five canes will be like probably $3.
and I'd wait.
10 will be
If car slowed down in front of the house, I'd imagine it was him coming to grab me up and rescue me. And I thought if I
5,
wanted it enough, he'd come back.
something
to
like
his
that.
place. Just have to want it.
I don't want to charge too much because all I need is to be able to get out, like go out to the property and cut them.
I grieved and married.
So, you know,
Interesting.
so there's going to be that.
Getting to know him just to grieve him all over
Just-
again.
There's going to be quite a few things. So, anyway, just a little reminder on those. All right.
And you're still you.
Types of homemade candles. There are quite a few different types of homemade candles, and each is made a little bit differently. Rolled candles. Rolled candles are made from sheets of beeswax that are soft enough to be rolled up without cracking. Rolled candles are the easiest type of candle to make at home, and they come together quickly without any need for special equipment or the need for handling hot
If
wax.
you survive the surgery,
I could die?
yes, there is a 10 to 15% chance.
Making rolled candles is a fun craft for kids, and the finished candles are perfect for decorating with ribbons, flowers, dried herbs, and other plant life, pine cones, and small shells. Oh yeah, pine cone crafts or something else we'll be selling, especially at Christmas time. Pine cone Christmas trees, because you can like paint them and just make them look really cool.
But you would still have your life.
My life is dead.
Container candles. A great project for all ages and skill levels, container candles are made with wax that has been poured into the container of your choosing.
What this means to me.
There are a few factors to consider when choosing a container. It needs to be heat resistant, it can't leak, and it can't break or crack. Some of my favorite vessels include mason jars or ramekins, other heat resistant glass containers, seashells, coffee or teacups, candle tins, ceramic containers. And the fun thing is you can get those, like, you can get so many of those from thrift stores that are usually, I mean, if you go to the right place, they're usually really cheap. So any kind of opaque container is especially good for beginners as it covers up errors and inconsistencies in the wax. Despite frequent appearances on Pinterest and craft listicles, wine glasses, coconut halves, walnut shells, plastic glasses, terracotta pots, and fish bowls are not safe for making container candles. Some porous materials like terracotta can be sprayed with sealant before the wax is added, but with so many already safe choices, why not pick a container that's ready to go as it is? Once the wick is burned down all the way, it's fairly easy to remove the wax and recycle the container for another use. This technique is a fantastic way to reuse those still waxy candle containers that tend to gather dust and sit for long periods of time without being used. You would also want to get all of that wax from, especially if they're store-bought candles, you want to get all of that out of there because those are toxic, and you don't want that in your candles. Molded candles. Molded candles are made by pouring wax into any one of the several kinds of candle molds and then allowing it to harden before removing it from the mold. There are several types of molds you can use to make these candles, including aluminum molds, pillar molds, and silicone molds. Depending on the material the mold is made of, you may need to lubricate the mold with a small amount of vegetable oil before pouring in the wax to help with easy removal. Silicone molds are an exception and they're naturally non-stick. Although there's a bit of a learning curve with molded candles, once you get the hang of it, you can make candles in a huge variety of shapes and sizes.
It's better to go back to the way things were. Barely friends, no benefits.
Dipped taper candles. Dipped taper candles are made by repeatedly dipping weighted wicks into hot wax, especially beeswax.
You're in love with him.
Working with one or to several wicks at a time.
Is that where you're
As
at?
I've discovered through my own candle making adventures, it makes sense to loop the wick so that you can dip 2 candles at a time. Dipping racks let you make several candles at once. You can actually home make those dipping racks. So when I find
You and I share
when I
life together.
find that and figure out how to do that, I will do a video on that and let you guys know. Let you guys actually see it, because on the property I'll go ahead and do that for
My
sure.
best friend. Growing
Dipping okay. These can sometimes be spotted at estate sales and thrift shops and are a great find if you're interested in making a larger quantity of dipped candles. This is the most time-consuming method, but the slow process of making these candles in your home is wonderful, especially if you have younger family members around to help. See, I actually love those types of candles because I love, like the older vintage pictures of the candles hanging to dry. Types of wax for candle making. Most people are familiar with beeswax candles, and they're my favorite. These days, there are actually quite a few varieties of wax for making candles at home. Beeswax is sourced from honeycombs, which gives this wax its faintly sweet signature scent. Fun fact, the scent can vary depending on the plants and flowers that feed the bees in any given area. That's actually cool. But as I said in quite a few of my beekeeping videos that I've done so far, you guys have watched them, those, like around our beehives, I'm going to make sure that there's a whole bunch of flowers planted. Like they're going to have their own garden to go and, get the nectar from, and like a whole bunch of those different bee-friendly plants and flowers and that kind of thing. Beeswax is one of the more expensive waxes, but definitely one of the most beloved by candle makers thanks to its clean burn and soft texture, and it's so healthy for your home. Beeswax purifies the air, it pulls toxins out of the air, and if you are trying to get to a toxic-free home, then beeswax candles are a great way to start. Pros: non-hazardous and non-carcinogenic. Bleh, I hate that word. Smells good, free of solvents, has a high melting point, and therefore a bright, clean flame. Lasts longer than other types of candles, and they're drip-free. Cons: it can be expensive, often blended with cheaper waxes. Isn't ideal for adding additional scents. Soy wax, the most popular and easily sourced wax for making candles. Soy wax was created in the mid-90s from hydrogenated soybeans as an alternative to paraffin wax. I won't use that because it's hydrogenated. Anything that has that word attached to it, you don't want. Soy wax is a good option for beginner candle makers thanks to its low price point and versatility when it comes to adding color or fragrance. Pros: inexpensive, good for adding fragrance, produces a clean soot-free flame, can be used to make a wide variety of candles. Spilled wax is easily cleaned up with soap and hot water. Cons: softer wax, so is typically only used for container candles, melts easily when the ambient temperature rises, prone to turning rancid without preservatives. Yeah, no. Paraffin wax. Paraffin wax has been used to make candles since the 1850s. Now, that's a better option. And it's still popular today thanks to its availability and low cost. Because paraffin wax is a byproduct of the crude oil industry, some people choose to avoid using paraffin wax for candle making.
My face and working a full-time job, and on top of that, you just dropped on me that you don't feel anything for our baby and expect me to make you
Pros:
feel love.
least expensive wax, good for adding color or fragrance. Widely available, many different kinds are available with different melting points. Cons: byproduct of petroleum, burns quickly, produces smoke and soot as it burns. Spilled wax is difficult to clean up. And put something underneath it. We always did. Tallow.
Don't take it.
Unlike the other options in this section, tallow isn't a form of wax, but is actually the rendered hard fat from beef or mutton or deer. Making tallow candles is now more of a novelty than anything else, as the candles won't be ideal for burning regularly. But if you're looking for instructions, okay, it says you can find them here. I might pull that up, I don't know. They were, of course, important historically as a source of light on the frontier and in low-income houses throughout the Middle Ages, but these days there are plenty of more pleasant options. And tallow is no longer as cheap or readily available as it once was. Pros: burn slowly. Cons: can have an unpleasant smell. Burning candle can produce smoke and soot. Coconut wax. Made from hydrogenated coconuts, this relative newcomer to the candle making scene is a soft wax with a lower melt point and is ideal for making container candles and scented candles. Pros: eco-friendly. Great for adding fragrance, slow burning, has a clean soot-free burn, easy to clean up spilled wax, and the cons: most expensive wax and can be hard to find. Okay. Safety precautions when handling candle wax. 1. Always use a double boiler when melting candle wax, heating the wax over low heat and stirring regularly as it melts. The surrounding water in a double boiler ensures the wax will melt slowly and evenly. Some waxes, such as paraffin wax, are more likely to ignite if placed directly over a dry heat source. So especially if you have a gas stove, use a double boiler. Wear protective clothing when handling hot wax. Long pants, shoes, and an apron, anything to protect your skin from molten wax. 3. Never use wax that isn't specifically for making candles. This includes crayons. 4. Don't melt candle wax in the microwave, as you won't be able to gauge the temperatures as easily as if it was being melted in a double boiler.
If you don't, then you're silicon rich.
5. Preheat containers before pouring in hot wax. This prevents thermal shock and keeps the wax from shrinking away from the container as it cools. 6. Have a clean space set aside for letting candles cool down to room temperature. 7. If heated too quickly, candle wax can ignite. Know the flash point of your particular wax. Most wax melts at a relatively low temperature, and you have to actually forget it on the stove to reach the flash point. But it's still a good idea to know ahead of time. Beeswax, for example, melts at 145 degrees, but it doesn't reach its flash point until 400 degrees.
Scares me more than anything.
Selecting candle wicks. Believe it or not, the hardest part about making candles these days is choosing the right wick. Throughout history, wicks were handmade, but candles required continuous tending to burn correctly. Nothing like flipping on a switch or just having light as we take for granted today. These days, we also expect our candles to just tend themselves, and that relies on modern wicks. They're woven slightly tighter on one side so they curl as they burn, making it so they're self-trimming. They also are specifically sized to the candle size and type of wax so the candles burn evenly, rather than burning out on one side, burning a chamber down the center, or totally melting and leaking everywhere. The choice of wick type ensures that a candle will just burn neatly without needing tending and not making a mess. There are 3 basic traits to research when choosing a wick for making candles at home. The fiber to use to make the wick. Wicks are made from cotton, wood, fiberglass, or blends. The braid design, how the wick is woven, and the wax coating on the wick, whether or not the wick has been pre-waxed or if it needs to be primed in wax before using. Once you've chosen the wax you'd like to work with, you can hone in on the type of wick you'd like to use. From there, you'll need to determine the diameter of your candle. If you're planning on making a larger container or molded candle,
You don't hear any sounds until 18 weeks, and you don't know if it's a him yet because it doesn't have fully formed genitals. We'll see you at your appointment later.
If you're planning on making a larger container or molded candle, it's a good idea to plan for multiple wicks. If the diameter is greater than 3 inches. While there are all kinds of charts for choosing the most suitable wick for your candle, it inevitably comes down to trial and error. Conducting a burn test is always a good idea when making handmade candles and will give you guidance for the next batch of candles. For an extensive look at the different types of wicks available and how to use them, you can look up the Guide to Choosing Candle Wicks, and it breaks the somewhat overwhelming amount of information available into manageable chunks. There's a picture of, I'll probably get like a box like that for it. Scents, colors, and add-ins for homemade candles. I like to make natural beeswax candles, and I love the beautiful simplicity in that. The simple, warm, comforting smell of natural beeswax burning makes any space instantly cozy. For some people, though, I know the real artistry in making homemade candles comes from making them unique. Crafting beautiful candles that have personalized scents, colors, and even herbal add-ins that make one-of-a-kind works of art. Adding fragrance to candles. There are two ways to add scent to homemade candles: fragrance oils and essential oils. Fragrance oils are synthetic oils. No. If you're a homesteader, you should be looking for the natural, not synthetic. Unlike essential oils, which by definition must be derived from actual plant matter, the chemical compounds in fragrance oils are ultra lightweight by design, which makes them easier to smell, and they're toxic. When combined with heat, some essential oils, especially citrus oils, will produce an unpleasant chemical smell. I love using essential oils, but when it comes to getting a noticeable scent from a candle, fragrance oils are the way to go.
I and Leo have such a strong.
It would depend.
Because it's based entirely on an emotional.
If you still want to go ahead and use essential oils to add scent to a candle, keep in mind you'll need to use larger quantities to achieve the same result you would get using fragrance oils.
Levels are dropping. She's rejecting the
As an FYI, when you're making scented candles, the term used to describe the strength of the fragrance is called a scent throw. The term can refer to how a candle smells while solid, a cold throw, or after the candle has been lit, which is called a hot throw. When you're choosing containers for scented candles, think about where in the house you'll be lighting them or where a candle giftee might put them. The scent from a candle in a tin or a small jar will fill small space. But for larger spaces, such as kitchens and living rooms, the candle should be poured into a container with a wide rim. For more in-depth information about adding fragrance to handmade candles, including tips for using both fragrance and essential oils, you can look that up online. And for tons of background information, step-by-step instructions for building a fragrance profile and making scented candles. And I'll cover that later on. Adding color to candles. Depending on the color intensity you're looking for, you can use synthetic or natural dyes to add color to a handmade candle. I would rather use scented. I would rather use natural dyes. Synthetic candle dyes, which you can buy as either liquid dye or wax chips, are the way to go if you want big, vivid color. You want the color of the candles to be less intense on the pastel side. Herbs and other plant life can be infused in warm, melted candle wax for 24 to 48 hours. If you're interested in making natural candle dyes, there's a thorough article that lists all sorts of options for creating dyes using spices, herbs, plants, flowers, as well as fruits, nuts, and vegetables. I would caution against using wax crayons as a way to color candles, as I've seen them advertised as a fun add-in. While this seems like something that would work, there are a few reasons why it's not a good idea. Like paint, a crayon gets its color from pigment, which give unlit candles plenty of color, but will almost immediately clog the wick once the candle has been lit. As the wick burns, it will let off chemical-smelling odors, and the smoke will be dark and sooty. Candle add-ins. Beyond fragrance and color, there are all sorts of ways to personalize homemade candles. These tutorials for candles with add-ins are just a handful of examples you can find for creating beautiful candles using materials you probably have at home. 1 French vanilla candles. 2 eggnog spice candles. That would be a good one for Christmas. 3 rosemary candles. And 4 tissue transferred candles. How to make candles. After you've chosen your wax type and wick, the process for making candles depends on the type of candle you're making. How to make rolled candles. Making candles from rolled sheets of beeswax is the easiest way to make homemade candles. Children as young as 5 will have no problems assembling these pretty candles. To make rolled candles, you'll need a rolled candle making kit, which typically includes sheets of natural beeswax, candle wicks, square braid wicks work best for this activity, scissors, optional kit add-ins such as cookie cutters for creating cutout wax stamps to decorate string or ribbon. While you can assemble these items separately, a kit makes it simple when it comes to choosing the correct wick for the size of the candle. Alright, 1. Warm the beeswax sheets to room temperature using either a hair dryer placed on its lowest setting or by leaving them near a sunny window. The sheets don't have to be hot, but this step prevents the wax from cracking as it's rolled. Number 2. Prepare the sheets so that they correspond to the candle size you like. You can cut the sheets in half for smaller candles or leave them whole for larger candles. Number 3, cut the wicks so there's half an inch of overhang over the side of the prepared wax sheet. To secure the wick, press it into the edge of the wax sheet you want to begin rolling from, and fold the wax over the wick into a tight tube. 4. Roll the sheet of wax up into a candle and trim the wick so that it's 1/4 inch long. So about like that, right there. Number 5, decorate the candle if you'd like. Number 6, a rolled candle is ready to be used immediately. There's no need to let it harden or cure first.
365 by 4 feet.
Rolled beeswax candles.
I was willing to take the risk.
I wasn't. I love you. I couldn't risk your life. I'm so sorry. But I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. You're not
Sorry.
gonna let me. We're gonna get through this, Mike. We'll be okay.
Clock on my computer is a little bit fast. Making container candles. This one's turned out to be a little bit longer than I expected, but it's okay. After you've tried making rolled beeswax candles, you can then move on to making container candles. As I discussed above, container candles can be made using any kind of wax in a variety of containers. Again, when choosing a container, the vessel should be heat resistant, leak proof, and not prone to cracking. Opaque containers are the most forgiving for beginners, as any flaws in the poured wax are covered. To make container candles, you'll need the following supplies. Number 1, container or multiple containers if you're choosing. Number 2, wax. Almost any kind can be used, including paraffin, soy, or beeswax. I'll probably stick with the beeswax. Number 3, the wick. Number 4, the double boiler with pouring spout if possible. Number 5, a thermometer. Number 6, a baking sheet. 7, chopsticks with rubber bands for centering the wick, or wick bars. And number 8, dye and or fragrance oils optional. Okay. How to make them. Number 1, prepare a clean, flat surface to work on. If using glass containers, warm them in a low oven to prevent thermal shock and to help prevent the wax from seizing and pulling away as it hardens and cools. Weigh out the wax and place in a double boiler. Heat the water and therefore the wax over medium heat, stirring every minute or so until the wax reaches the correct temperature for pouring. Number 3, add dyes and or fragrance oils according to the manufacturer's instructions if desired. This can vary depending on the type of wax being used, but is typically added right before pouring. Number 4, wick the containers by placing the measured and cut wick between 2 wooden chopsticks and securing them with elastic bands. This will help center the wick and keep it upright. When the wax is poured in, secure the wick to the bottom of the container using a small amount of hot wax. Let it dry for 5 minutes. You can use glue dots or a glue gun. Number 5, with the chopsticks still holding the wick straight, carefully and slowly pour the hot wax into your chosen containers, working over a clean baking sheet to catch drips or spills. Number 6, let the candle cool completely at room temperature. If a crafter forms around the wick, you can top the candle off with more hot wax after the original pour is solidified. Number 7, trim the wick so that it measures 1/4 inch in length. Don't trim it any shorter, as this will have an effect on how cleanly the candle will burn. Number 8, if possible, give your candles time to cure before using them or gifting them. This table, okay, they give a table that you can use to get a better idea of how long to cure a candle based on the type of wax being used. And when I get into all that information, I'll make sure and put a video out there about it. And I'll definitely do videos once I start making our own candles. Or if making container candles is completely new to you, a kit that includes the equipment as well as the wax and any add-ins you might want can be practical and cost-effective option. The basic formula is as follows: number of candles you want to make times the volume of candles being used divided by 20 equals how much wax you'll need in pounds. This comprehensive guide gives a deep dive into the hows and whys of calculating the amount of wax you'll need to weigh out when making homemade candles. I'm going to screenshot that. Yeah, this video is kind of a bit long. Pouring temperatures. Okay. Paraffin wax pour at 180 degrees Fahrenheit to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Soy wax pour at 110 degrees Fahrenheit to 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Beeswax you pour at 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Sorry. Wax blends pour at see manufacturer's instructions. Okay, making molded candles. Molded candles, which are made by pouring hot wax into a metal or silicone mold, come in a huge variety of shapes and sizes. Starting with simple pillars is a beginning-friendly way to learn about making this type of candle. And when that becomes familiar, you can begin to experiment with ornate molds, and with those, the sky's the limit. The equipment and method for making molded candles is very similar to making container candles, with a few notable exceptions. 1. Choose a firm wax such as soy, coconut, beeswax, or a blend. Paraffin wax is quite soft and therefore not suitable for making molded candles. Oh. Sorry. Did I have you falling down? No, go lay down. No. 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 Sorry. You move, and she's like right there. If using silicone candle molds, look for one-piece mold to have a slit down the side for easy removal. Let the candle cool completely before removing it from the mold. To speed up the process, the candle can be refrigerated for an hour once the wax is set. To help with candle removal, lubricate the mold with a wax release spray or a few drops of vegetable oil. And there's a picture of their candle making area. Now on our property, when I start making our candles, our outdoor kitchen is going to be the place where I'm going to be doing all of that stuff. So, excuse me. Making tapered candles. The oldest method for making candles. This is a wonderful project for cozy weekends or as a homeschool project. Making tapered candles is time-consuming, but ultimately all about the experience. It's also a great mindfulness activity, as it forces you to slow down and enjoy the process.
We just got started.
Excuse me, sorry.
That is not on the wall. I would like to know.
To make tapered candles, you will need 1. Beeswax. 2. Prepared wicks for tapered candles. 3. Dipping vat. This will be placed in a large pot of simmering water to melt the wax, like a makeshift double boiler. 4. Dipping rack. If you want to make more than 2 candles, which I'm probably going to end up kind of like graduating up to that. 5 scissors. The basic method is simple. Dip the waxed wick into the melted beeswax repeatedly, letting the wax harden between each dip until a tapered candle forms. Test to see if it will fit into a standard candle holder. You can also make candle holders too. Hang the candle to dry, but first plunge it into cold water to seal the wax and give the candle a smooth finish. Making tapered candles is an art, and I'd recommend reading these 2 tutorials for more in-depth information. 1, making hand-dipped beeswax taper candles from Homestead Honey, and 2, the secret to perfect beeswax tapers from Joy Belief Farm. And I might actually at some point do videos on those. Troubleshooting homemade candles. Here are some common problems that can pop up when making candles and what you can do about it. Candle smokes when burned. Could be caused by too much fragrance. Try reducing the amount of fragrance oil being used. Avoid using essential oils. Wick size too large for candle. Try a different size or type of wick. Uh-oh. It's asking if you're still there. Sorry. No. No. What's the matter? Hang on, guys. Sorry, guys. Candle flame is small or burns out. Could be caused by the wick is too small. Try a different size or type of wick. Hard wax. Use a softer wax next time. Candle flame is too big or is mushrooming. Could be caused by the wick is too big. Try a different size or type of wick. Wick needs to be trimmed. Keep wicks trimmed to a 1/4 inch.
When did you start
1/4 of an
doing that
inch.
Last time we went 3 rounds.
I don't even know what I'm doing.
You want to stop?
I didn't say that.
Candle flame is sputtering. Could be caused by water accidentally getting into the candle. Remove water, air pockets
I'm aware.
might have formed as the wax hardened. Gently tap the sides of the container or mold to release air bubbles while the wax is still hot.
We're gonna keep looking
Candle
back.
cracked while cooling. Could be caused by the candle cooled too quickly. Let the candle cool at room temperature, not in the fridge or freezer. Candle tunnels as it burns. Could be caused by too small of a wick. Try using a larger wick combined with a softer wax.
Birthing class that I don't.
Okay.
Orientation in school.
And that was it.
But where I will learn how to give you the support.
So that was
while giving
turned out to
birth
be
our
a pretty long video, but I wanted to get that one out there, and that one's from obviously the Homestead candle making section, and I'll make sure this one gets uploaded tomorrow.
The sex of a baby.
I know.
And
School.
Too excited.
anyway,
Not by that.
so
There are only 2 outcomes.
if any of you are new to the channel, if you've just stumbled across it and pulled up a video and just happened to be this one,
I'm excited to find this out. Please come.
we are Faith First Farm and Homestead, and we have 12.53 acres down here in Oklahoma. We moved down here about a year and a half ago, almost a year and a half ago, and we don't live on the property yet. Our goal is this spring. We will have a camper trailer that we will be putting on the property. I don't have a vehicle right now. That's one of the reasons why we don't live on the property right now. There's nothing actually built on the property yet. We'll get there. We have a huge clearing on the property. You can go to our video that says we finally made it. And that is the video that I made when we actually got up to our property. We've only been there once so far. And you can see the clearing, and it's huge. It's a huge clearing. There's plenty of room for our off-grid cabin and our camper trailer and outdoor kitchen and our woodshed and workshop and Also, if you're new to our channel, go to our live tab
This is
and pull up
valuable.
Faith First is Going Live.
Tell me how you got that.
And in that video, I go through and explain what our plans are. You know, also I explain why we got into homesteading and what our plans are for the property, what brought us down here from Michigan, kind of all over the place right now. And just, you know, it gives you an idea of what we're planning on doing, and animals, and our home, and the land, and our gardens, and that kind of thing. So one of our main goals this spring is to get our garden beds built, at least enough to where we can grow sustainable food. And I'm also planning on growing our animal feed and feeding our animals mostly like all the veggies and stuff like that. Any grains whatsoever, I'm going to section out areas to grow them as well, because it's hard to find a really good organic non-GMO feed for animals. And plus, we get to a point to where you can't get that stuff. You need to be able to feed your animals. So anyway, and the best, the healthiest choice is growing them yourself. So anyway,
The procedure.
so go ahead and go through our videos and watch as many of them as you want. And remember to like and share our videos. Share them on all of your platforms, especially Facebook. And share them with friends and family and homesteading friends and neighbors. And remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and hit the notification bell so you get all of the notifications. So I will get off from here and get the title on it, and I will make sure my daughter puts the intro on it tomorrow, and I will get this uploaded tomorrow. And I will see you guys on the next video. Bye, guys.
My career be over.